All right. Hello, everyone. Great to have you here. Welcome to May's practice hour. It's been a minute. I've been off doing some exciting things in Italy, but I'm back on my horse here in Ireland. New apartment, new setup, and ready to practice with you all. Great to have you here. Nikki, Karen, Judith, hello. Katie, Bea, Anna, Margaret, and Roberta. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Good to have you back. Right on. Dale and Wendy, Paula, Frost, Jeannie, and Giselle. Hello. Wendy, Barbara, Susan. Welcome. Great to have you here. So I took a break because I was in Italy and some of you came to Pauline's practice hour, which I was messaging her with her about. We were selecting that Van Gogh wheat field together via text message for you all. Um, it's been a while, but before we jump into today's practice, I'd love to share just a bit of a recap of the magic that was Venice. All right. So let me put some of these windows away. All right, and bring up my. Doo-doo-doo. All right. So I'll share a little bit about what Venice has been for me. And I'm actually happy to have Margaret and Roberta here who were on the Venice program. Um, but I want to, come on, let's make that a little small. All right. So Venice to me has been somewhere that I have traveled to, I guess, with some regularity ever since I started studying painting and drawing. And it's all because of the Leo Marchutz School of Painting and Drawing. That's where I studied beginning when I was in undergrad at 19 years old. And over the course of the three different times that I studied with them, two of those times I was able to go to Venice with them. They go to Venice every spring. Okay, it's a bit of a tradition. And we have a painting trip there. So there's a group of us who are all committed to the same sort of goal of painting this impossibly beautiful city that we found ourselves in. Um, I painted there in 2012 with Marchutz, and I painted there again during my master's program in 2019 with Marchutz. But this year, I was lucky enough to be an instructor on the program. So me and my professor, Alan Roberts, who I will show you a photo of in a minute, um, handled the teaching, and it was quite, yeah, it wasn't lost on me, sort of the full circle um, nature of that distinction to be able to teach on the Venice program. I think if I could look back on my 22-year-old self painting sunrise in Venice, much like these folks in this photograph are here, and to think that I would be able to come back and share the magic of the rare, unique opportunity to paint in a place like Venice with others. I don't know. I'd be really pleased to hear that. Anyways, so there's a program, all right, but before the program, some of us got together to do a little painting ourselves. So I had a little more than a week because my wife came to Venice with me and we were there for a couple days. But I had a few days on my own to sort of paint. Um, and have my own like painting time there before the students arrived. And I want to show you some of that work, and then I'll show you some photos from the program real quick. But just like these folks are painting sunrise here, this is one of the last sunrises that happened on the trip. Sunrise was something that I'd always enjoyed painting in Venice. There was something really special about waking up early, like at 5 a.m., going out in the middle of a completely dead Venice with no one out in the streets, finding your spot, okay, and then seeing the sky change and all of the architecture change. All right. Um, it happens in 30, 40 minutes, and that's part of the joy in it, that you can't overthink it, that you're just grabbing onto colors and sort of really sinking your teeth into this beautiful scene unfold in front of you as Venice wakes up around you. And then you kind of look around after in that morning twilight glow, and like all the architecture just looks otherworldly. Um, it was really, yeah, really, really special experience that I always go back to. Again, ever since I was like 22, thinking like, oh man, that was probably some of the peak moments of my life and my definitely my formative years as an artist. But I managed to do a couple sunrises. I'm not as young as I used to be, so waking up at 5 in the morning doesn't quite suit me as well. But I do enjoy normal people morning, okay, like breakfast morning. That's a really good time to paint as well. So this is a view just a short walk from the hotel that we were staying at of the Dogana, okay, which is this little piece of architecture right here. This was probably my favorite time of day to paint. And I would paint from about 8 o'clock to 9:30, and then I would put away all my stuff and head back to my hotel and catch the end of the breakfast service before 10. But what's beautiful about really immersing yourself in painting for days at a time is that you get used to a rhythm. You get used to the rhythm of the day. You sort of get linked, you know, bonded with the light, the sun rising, the sun setting, and the way it changes the whole view of the city throughout the day. And you find your pockets, your moments to paint. And it's beautiful to be able to align your creative practice with such a natural rhythm in that way. And you sort of see the cycle, and you have these moments of painting, painting maybe once in the morning and once in the afternoon. But you can look forward to the next one, and you can sort of take what you're learning from this painting and bring it with you into tomorrow's painting or that evening's painting. Early on, like maybe the last day before the program started, I did this one in the morning. Okay. And I loved this time of day. I loved the morning light, and I loved this scene. I loved this architecture. So I was painting for about 10 days. And at the end of the 10 days and trying a lot of different things, different views and different times of day, this had stuck out to me. Okay. This had absolutely stuck out to me as one of my favorite spots and one of my favorite, yeah, light, like, yeah, daylight to paint in. So I came back to it, but I wanted to come back to it with a completely different approach. I was really pleased with this painting. Like, I sent a picture of it to my wife, and I was like, yo, I scored here. Like, I caught a big fish this morning. You know what I mean? But I wanted to come back to it afterwards, and I wanted to paint it again, but I almost wanted to care a little bit less. And after painting that long, you're doing that many paintings, 10 days of painting at least twice a day. So you're coming up on a couple dozen paintings. Each one becomes a little less precious. Okay. And I mean that in a good way, but it stops being about like willpower and talent and proving anything. And it sort of became about just, enjoying that moment as it's passing and as it passes, and really seeing into that light and that architecture and the scene in front of you. I wanted to care less on my revisit to this motif. And the image that I had in my mind is I wanted to paint as if I was frying eggs. Like I wanted it to feel that ordinary, that mundane, that I was just groggy, still only half awake and just trying to like make myself some breakfast. So I had this motion. You see that I'm doing with my wrist right here? I had this motion in mind. And I was like, okay, I want to go into a painting like this. All right. And this is what I came up with. All right. So it took roughly about the same time. All right. But you'll see the brushwork is less measured, less calculated. Okay. But nevertheless, even though I've sort of what would you say? Not disfigured, but like I sort of reduced the manipulative intentions of my hand and just stuck with this, whisk egg beating motion with my hand. Um, Despite painting it with this motion, I was still paying attention to moments of color, okay, relationships of light and dark, color temperatures, and it still puts together an image that holds the light of that scene, you know? If I go back here, all right, for you to see this, and then come to this,
Mm.
the scene still puts itself together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying this, one of my students earlier this week was talking about how they feel like they need to prove that they have the skill, or they need to have the skill, before they can sort of just let go and paint whatever. And what I said to them was that's common. A lot of people think they need the skill, what they do with their hands. You know what I mean? Like, here's a brush in my hand. I need to learn everything that my hand can do with this tool in it and how to manipulate this tool perfectly before I can really just let go and paint whatever I want. All right. And what I said to them was, I actually think vision is the horse that pulls the carriage of technique. I think through practice, if we can emphasize exercising our vision, okay, being more observant to shape, light, shadow, color temperature, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The way our hand is going to respond and put together all of those relationships, it'll create its own solutions and its own workarounds. And those solutions and workarounds are going to be unique to you and your sensibility and your values in a work of art. And that is where your touch lies. That is where, and that's something to foster and cultivate and nourish because it's yours. So, just to wrap that up, I think vision comes first before technique. All right. And I think you all already know that, having taken classes with me before, but it's nice to have some examples. And I'm not saying that this is a lesser work of art. Okay. Like, I was really pleased with this. Like I told you, I messaged my wife right away and said, "Hey, check this out." And she could tell, all the way back in Dublin, oh, yeah, that's a nice one. But somehow, both of these are like brother and sister to me now, these two paintings. And they sort of tell each other's story in a really, really nice way. Anyways, I continued with this looser touch with some other work. This is actually the last full day of painting that we had as a whole program, okay? And I sort of snuck off during the lunch break to just get my moment of painting one of my favorite places on Earth, the geodeca. And I managed this guy right here. So the composition is pretty much this scene, maybe a little more like that with the pylons in the distance. But I don't know, for some reason, this like high noon scene right here hitting that church, I was really taken by. And I wanted to have one last session saying goodbye to the geodeca. Anyways, so I got some painting time, but we also had a group of 10 intrepid traveling artists who joined us. Okay. And the day was pretty simple. It was paint, eat, sleep, wake up, repeat, basically. We had multiple sessions, morning and afternoon, every single day, and every time we would take them to a new location. So we have a few spots that we like to go in Venice that's sort of uh, a little bit away from all the touristy belly of the beast that Venice can be, but also has some of the greatest views of the entire city and the architecture. But every morning and afternoon, we take the Vaporetto out. Everyone would find their motif and they would set up like this, working from whatever speaks to them, sometimes in groups. Here we have Roberta and Margaret in our session right now. There you are, Margaret. There you are, Roberta. Side by side, two sisters painting the Salute.
Oh my gosh.
Here's another view of the geodeca. This is the afternoon this time. The sun's setting on the other side now. But what's one of the conveniences is that we provide a lot of the supplies, so you don't have to bring anything. All that stuff on the ground that Sarah Jane has right here, we've provided for them to work with. There's another one. This must have been Karen, I think, over here. But we kind of take over. We kind of take over a zone. Alan and I, so this is me working with Sarah Jane. This is one of our f middle days painting, coming by and just giving a little feedback on everyone's work. Here's Alan with Sarah Jane again, working from the island of San Giorgio on her twilight painting there. So Alan here is my art teacher, one of two of my art teachers when I was in art school. So it's really special to be able to teach this program alongside him, the two of us there. So we tag team teaching the group. We sort of everyone wanders off, finds their spots, and we find you and give you little bits of feedback on composition and advice. There are the minces again, Roberta and Margaret. Sorry, Margaret, I should have warned you. Here's Laureen. I don't if any of you taken a Smithsonian class with me. Laureen is often one of the volunteers in my classes, and she joined us on the trip as well. She was working in watercolor, primarily for the trip and had a real beautiful transformation in her work. But this is one of her first days painting. Yeah, Margaret and Roberta, here you are again. One of the greatest sunsets we saw from the Giardini. All right. Anyways, again, the cycle is you wake up, you paint in the morning, you go off for lunch, we reconvene in the afternoon, and we paint until sunset pretty much, and then we have dinner afterwards. And we repeat that for a few days, 7 or 8 days. And then on the last day, we get together for a bit of a critique. Okay. So we gather on this terrace, we manage to hang all of our work, and one by one, we'd sort of share and look at some of the, yeah, themes or patterns that are emerging in our work. Anyways. Margaret or Roberta, since you both are in here, do you have anything you want to share about your time in the program
It was
as a ranger fellows?
wonderful.
Okay.
And oh yeah, it was absolutely wonderful. First of all, to spend 8 hours a day painting was incredible. Or 6 to 8 hours, whatever you chose, but it was amazing. And I think it was somewhat transformative for me anyway, to spend that much time and to really look and see things more closely and for an extended time. And the temperament of the group and the program were just so supportive and kind and helpful and enlightening. So, Bird, I jumped in. It's your turn.
Well, ditto. It was quite, I did feel it was transformative to be so immersed. And um, I think I did have a little of the experience Nick was talking about in that, I'd work really hard in the morning, and then by the end of the day, I was kind of like, just, the paint was all mixed and my palette was a mess. And I I actually like what came out at more when I was more relaxed. Some of it had to do with um, painting the same in the same location. It's almost as though you get to know it really well, and then you can relax with it and just be there and do it. So that was a really wonderful experience. I've done other painting workshops where you go away, and I rarely like what I do on those programs. And I think now I understand what it is that it's the experience that's getting me to relax kind of and just be there. That was really fostered by this structure and the way they sort of cultivate your own way of doing things. So
Wow.
it was great.
That's wonderful. I'm so happy to have you both here. It's so
No,
it's
we're happy to
so
be here.
yeah, this is wonderful. It's amazing that just a few weeks ago, I mean less than a month ago we were yeah, here in this group painting together. This is after the very last sunset where we all agreed that we would meet, in this one spot that we had sort of become familiar with, and we'd paint relatively in the same zone, and everyone was just hard at work. And at the end of it all, yeah, we had this little group photo. But it's amazing to think that just a few weeks ago I was here with you all, Roberta, Margaret, and the rest of this crew here that you see in front of us. But yeah, I mean, transformative, I felt that same way, the couple times that I went to painting in Venice the first time, but also immersive. Um, Immersive and supportive. Maybe those two things together. You can be immersed, you could be plunged into something that's not very supportive, and that could be a really difficult time. But yeah, it is the combination of the supportive team that I'm lucky to have with Alan and Kathleen and Rose who organize and help run the show throughout the program. And immersive, I think it's rare that people get to be so immersed in their creative practice where they can really live it day in, day out. Um, and yeah, relax into it the way Roberta said. Anyways, lots of goodies. I could go on forever, but I don't. I am conscious of the time, but it's too good to not share, especially with Margaret and Roberta here.
Thank you, Nick.
All right. Anyways, Marchutz has announced the dates for next year's Venice program. Okay, so I will be here. I'll show you a quick slide of that. All right, April 11th through April 20th of next year. All right, I'll put a link in the chat for you all in just a moment. Um, One other thing that's coming up, if you want something a little bit sooner than 12 months from now, and that doesn't maybe involve flying across an ocean, I have an online workshop coming up in just a few weeks. Um, every once in a while, I like to do these color in action, drawing in action workshops where I get to explore a really, sort of niche topic with you all. In the one in June, just a few weeks from now, is called Temperature Check. Okay. And what we'll be doing is working on an image together, side by side, just like we do in the practice hour. Okay. So I'll have my desk screen on top and I'll be working on the same activity with you all from start to finish. Okay. But we're going to be working with a limited palette. Okay. Just three colors. All right. I hear a lot about people being like, I'm really confused about temperature. Like, I don't know when to use it. I don't know what colors are warm, what colors are cool. And my hope is with this workshop, we can gain some practice seeing temperature. Maybe not knowing it. It's okay if we still don't know it, but if we could see it, okay, and maybe sense moments where we want to use cooler tones or warmer tones, um, we can maybe grow a little bit of that understanding, right? So, Color in Action workshop will be Sunday, June 7th at 10 a.m. Eastern. And I'll be putting a link for this in the chat for you as well, right? So, without further ado, let me bring up the image that we are going to be working from. What window do I have it in? It's going to be in this one. Okay, so Venice was grand. Venice was magical. Venice was transformative and immersive. However, I'm going to take us far away from Venice for today's practice hour. Okay? I'm going to take us all the way to Korea. And I just discovered this artist, sort of a Jeon Seong, okay? Sort of a contemporary of Hokusai and Hiroshige around that era in Japan, but he's from Korea. And I found this placid little landscape to practice on. I'm going to give us a detail of it, okay? So we can work from this, all right, for our session today, right? Whether you're working in pencil, watercolor, what have you, let's try our hand at putting this image together, okay? So you all get started there. Real quick, I just want to remind you all of some our typical guidelines for the practice hour. As always, this is a practice session, not a class. There's no planned lesson, just time and space for us to work together. Remember, the goal isn't to make a forgery, a replica of this. It's simply to have your own experience with it, okay? Focus on the key relationships that you see and make a parallel image with your own touch. I'll share some insights from my process as we go, so it can still be a learning opportunity for you. Feel free to ask me questions. Otherwise, I ask that you stay muted to reduce background noise. If you're in the zone and you just want to work and not hear my voice, that's totally fine. You're welcome to mute me as well. Finally, a special thank you, first off, to the Leo Marchutz School of Painting and Drawing, who I'm happy to share this practice series with. A special thank you also to our returning participants who regularly contribute. This monthly practice hour is offered free to our community. And if you'd like to support the mission of the Leo Marchutz School of Painting and Drawing, donations can be made at the link that I will provide in just a moment. So speaking of links, actually, we'll do these one at a time. I'm gonna make sure you have these. All right. So I put 4 links in the chat there for you. The first is for my upcoming Color in Action workshop. Second is the info page for the Marchutz School's Venice trip in 2027. A third link for some more programs with the Marchutz School. And finally, a link where you can show your support and make a contribution. So I'm going to get my desk up here ready to go, and then I will join you all in the drawing. Okay, everyone, you're going to have to forgive me real quick. I just need to pull this out so I can bring my screen in and join you all. It's coming back in just a minute. Desktop, boom, beautiful. Get you left side. Oh,
Okay.
come on, buddy. Want you left, you right. And then I will make my screen a little bit smaller so that you all can see. Right. Let me zoom out maybe a little bit here. I'd love to not have that drawing visible. But maybe it's the best that I can do. All right. So I'm going to be trying something a little bit different today. Um, I got a touch at the end of the Venice trip. I'll admit I was feeling a little bit watercolored out, which happens from time to time, and I feel no shame about. I think that's natural, normal. By the end of the trip, actually, I was doing some lovely drawings in this very notebook here. Probably pop open a couple for you. There we go. Boom. Oh my God. One of my favorite, that was last morning. I don't mean to make this about Venice again, but I can't help myself. Some of these were just so delicious to draw. I don't know how to describe it, but I just felt like it was just like eating really good cake. I don't know what else to say. Here's another one, same scene later in the day. Anyways, I got really into drawing and I wanted to, I don't know, I came home and there's an artist that I was in a competition with here. Just really good stuff in colored pencil. Oh my goodness. And I don't know, I think I was just in the mood for something different. All right. So I've been trying to dabble in a little bit of colored pencil since then. And I want to try this scene with you all in colored pencil. So let me beef up the exposure there. I think I might be battling it for most of this session because the sun is going down here. Anyways, so here's one of my first colored pencil drawings. This is a copy of I think a Titian or a Tintoretto because I was still inspired by Venice. Maybe a Cezanne you tried doing in one of my classes. Anyways, try again. Let's go for it. So for this drawing, I'm actually going to use a limited palette. I think I'm going to keep it to, let's see, give myself four. I have like a peach, take a light green. Actually, no. I have a darker green in this set. I think I'll do that darker green. Yeah. Take a light blue. And then I want one more warm color. And I think for that I'm gonna have purple. And I don't know that I'm going to use the purple outright, but I want to use the purple inside some of the other colors to maybe just adjust them, augment them a little bit. All right. Feels good to be back. Let's see how we do. So actually, no, I'm going to do this differently. I'm not going to try and go for the whole composition. I think I want to start in the middle and then just try drawing outwards. And that's something I do sometimes when I want to give myself a little more, I don't know, grace, sort of a break, instead of trying to do the whole thing. I just start in the middle, okay? And I try and draw outward from there. And however the image grows organically outside of that, I totally accept. And wherever I finish or end up is where I finish and where I end up. But right now, those two triangular land masses in the middle, that is what I'm going to focus on. So I'll layer up with some more colors in a bit, but I just want to get the general shape of these masses going. Here I'm climbing up that tree. I'm just sort of blocking the shape in, not trying to get it perfect or anything like that. Right. So that's sort of the shape of one tree, and then I'll block in the shape of another. All right, there's some architecture and stuff I have to deal with. I'll get to that in a bit. Right now, let me just loosely try and get in these land masses, and then maybe let's see. I might work on some others. So I'm gonna switch to my warm peach color here. Right. And maybe a bit of the architecture. Boom, boom, boom. Right. since I'm working in colored pencil, I need to layer a little bit. So when I see, you know, this horizontal stretch of slightly warmer water, I'm just going to get my warmer tone down now, and then I can layer the water on top of it. Right. Back, speaking of, let's get to blue. But before I start bluing in all the water, there's also all this beautiful stuff in the background that I want to get in. Let's see. Can I get that architecture? I think so. All right. So now some of the mountains in the back, I can start bringing in very light, very faint values. And while I'm there, I think I might as well. And there is that landmass right in front of it. I have to do something about it. Oops, not so dark. I've really grown to love using the side of my pencil for drawing. So I will definitely keep that up here. So let's see. I got some of these mountains. I'm going to definitely need to change some things around, but for right now, I'm doing all right. Actually, as I'm working down these mountains, just, I sense some of the blue in those rooftops in this architecture, so I will just continue down right over top of my peach color. So we could do another one here. All right. So I see it starting to form here. Okay, little bit by little bit in colored pencil. Let's see. I think I'm going to develop what I have here before I try expanding too far anywhere else. But let me, yeah, just bring in some of this water. Just some blue hash marks in this direction to start evoking the water there. It's difficult because this is done on some sort of, I'm not even sure, rice parchment, something like that. You could see the texture of the paper, and it's different from, a white surface. Anyways, working in some of the water here. do maybe a little more here. And there we go. I will just leave that like that for now. Let me just try building what I have here. So as you can see, I started in the middle, kind of just grew in two different directions, okay? Letting it form organically on my page, and I will, sorry, I'm just gonna bring in this light. Um, I will continue working with what I have, trying to make it just a little bit more developed. Let me zoom in a touch. And actually, no, I don't think that is better. So, there. Oh, okay, so let's continue working on this. Goodness. So I want to start going dark, but I still think I need a little bit more of those warm peach tones in there. So I'll bring that into some of these landforms where I see them. And again, I'm trying to sense colors inside of colors. There's not too much that is actually this color by itself, but I want to, use this and try and contribute as much as I can to the rest of the image. Right, now I'll come back with the blue. I'm sort of holding off on the purple, even though I know it's going to be a color that might help bring a lot of this together, but not yet. I want to do as much work as I can with the other colors. But I'm trying to come in with the blue at a darker value to help bring a little more structure to what's happening here. All right, so now that I've got like the basic tones in, I can start developing this little beach right here. All right, so this is starting to emerge a little more solid now. All right, just from a little bit of work there. And I can layer up back here a little bit more. And again, I'm resisting the urge to switch straight to my purple to really make everything different. I want to try and layer this all up nice and slow. So I'm in the tree now, working in layers of darker marks with my pencil to really build up what's there. And I do intend to come back into these with some purple in a little bit. Hopefully that'll push the color into a darker and more neutral zone, but just coming at it with a little bit of discipline. I want to avoid having to constantly be changing pencils and such. Actually, while I'm here and seeing this, I could, layer in just a wee bit more of this faint mountain in the background. There we go. Ah, there's one more mountain shape right there that I could get into, but I wanna let me keep going with what I have before I start getting fancy over here. Switching back to my green just momentarily. I want to address some of there we go, make some of the architecture look like it's really there. All right, I'm coming in with even heavier marks for some of the land masses here, just to try and help shape these hills. All right. So I'm up in this other tree next to the second house in my little composition here. Should go a little bit higher. Let's see if I can go a little bit higher with that. And then again, I'll come back in with the blue. Right. So I'm using darker marks to sculpt some of these landforms now. I'm going to go back in this tower. I mean, not tower. This is a mountain. What am I talking about? Try and build up this mountain in the background up a little bit more. Very gently. All right, and then what's beautiful is that there's this super dark mountain up here. How can I manage that? All right, I think let me get some of these light tones that I sense in there. Right, and a little bit more of the green. All right, so I'm building up that shadow, that mountain that's a little further back. That green mountain, that green hill. It's a little bit in shadow right there. And that might actually be a good place for me to start with purple. Why not? Okay, so even though I said I was going to switch to the purple, I'm back to my blue. Again, just trying to build up some of this, some of these layers. Right. I think my darkest darks are going to be blue, green, and purple. So I'm trying to get as much out of some of these pencils as I can. Rooftops and more rooftops. Yeah, shading with the green in here. Okay, I think that'll do for now. All right, let's try and bring this home with a little bit of purple. Again, I didn't see purple as a color that would stand by itself. I saw purple as a color to blend into other colors, to augment, alter, help change their temperature or mute them a little bit. And I think that's gonna how I'm gonna try and bring this home a little bit. How about we keep working for about 10 more minutes? All right, everyone, 10 more minutes. So, pretty warm purple. Okay, this ain't indigo here. Let's see what happens. Hmm. All right, that's nice so far. Let's see what we can get happening in this. Yep, and the Yeah, it's kind of coming to a nice sort of earthy color. Very nice. For maybe some of these, I may need to come in with my green and layer it on top, and that's okay. I can work back and forth with those two to get those nice, yeah, really nice dark marks right there. So I'm up in the tree now. Let's see how dark I can get in the tree here. He says as he moves to the rooftops to avoid the trees entirely. But sometimes the flow just takes you there. All right. And down to the hill. Still not getting into that tree. You know, I've definitely had some moments where I really, really loved the colored pencil. Then I have some others where I'm like, how do I get past where I'm at with this new medium? And it's really nice to try new things and sort of be put in that mindset again, that beginner's mind where, you sort of have to dig deep and find some inventiveness, to figure out all sorts of workarounds and solutions to problems when the medium isn't behaving the way you're used to with other media, for example. It's humbling. It is humbling. Okay, sort of getting there. Anyways, yeah, I've definitely had some colored pencil drawings where I'm like, ooh, yeah, this is awesome. Can't wait to see see where else I could take this. And then I get other ones where I'm like, man, how do people do this? Again, there was a woman that I was entered in a competition with here, um, who I met, and I think she did the competition in like oil or something like that. But I later found out that her real medium is colored pencil, and the portraits she can do. Marie Lemon. Maybe I'll drop her name in the chat so you can look her up. Um, yeah, the things she can do in colored pencil is truly outstanding. So I thought, hey, why not? I have to give it a try. All right, starting to come out there. All right. So maybe with just the few minutes we have left, I'm gonna try and bring this thing home a little bit more. Let's get the tippy tops of these mountains. Maybe some few last oop, marks. There we go. So this is a good example of what I mean by sometimes I just like to start a drawing in the middle and see where it sort of spreads out to organically. And it's okay if I don't finish. It's okay if I don't get to everything. It's still good practice. But kind of like Roberta said at the beginning of the session, just want to relax into it. There is a part of this that can be relaxing. Doesn't always have to be a homework assignment. Partly, I hope that doing this on Sundays, this can be part of a relaxing Sunday for you all. All right. That may be what I get to today. Let's keep working for a couple more minutes, everyone. And then we will wrap up our practice session for a month. All right, let's start wrapping up the part of the image we are working on. Tough stuff, these Korean landscape painters, huh? But, and as much as I love the Impressionists, okay, sometimes it's nice to venture to far-flung lands and broaden our horizons and try our hand at something new. I might have to play with this a little bit more. Maybe I'll find some other things to try my colored pencils on. I think I've been enjoying figures a little bit more, especially some of that Tintoretto and Titian stuff. Maybe I should have gone back to Venice. Anyways, all right, everyone. Let's start wrapping this up. Before I put all of this away, just want to share with you all real quick that our next one will be Sunday, June 7th at 1 p.m. Eastern. All right. If you're signed up for my practice memos on my website, you will get the practice memo for that probably in a week and a half. All right. And June will be the last one before I take a short break for the summer. I will be away for the month of July, but then in August, we'll be back at it. All right. So let's be sure to get our practice in before the summer vacation begins. All right. And let me pull this away. And then I'd love to take a screenshot of everyone's work if you all wouldn't mind just holding it up. And let me get nice. Oh, nice. Margaret knocked out two. All right. Nice work, everyone there. I will, yeah, just waiting for a couple more. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Keep it up just like that. Nice work, Giselle. All right. Great, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Great to be back practicing with you all. Remember, there are 4 links in the chat for you all, so click on all 4 of them now so that you have the windows open and you can read them later after we wrap up this session. Um, Happy Sunday, everyone. Great practicing with you all. It is dinner time for me. Dinner time, TV time, then bedtime, and then back at it tomorrow. But I'm happy we got to spend this time together with our practice. Have a great rest of your Sunday, a fantastic week. Happy drawing, happy painting, happy art making. Take care of yourself, be safe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next practice session. All right.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
Yeah, my pleasure. Margaret, you want to say something? I can see you, but you need to unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry. Was there an artist you were going to give us the name of the one
Oh,
who did the
yeah, yeah,
pencil
yeah, yeah,
drawings?
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, Marie Lemon. Let
Marie
me,
Lemon. Okay.
but the lemon, yeah, cool. I'll type it in the chat right now. Marie, look her up for colored pencil work. In fact, Marie Lemon. Pardon, elle est française. Donc, Marie Lemon.
Okay. Thank you. Marie Lemon. Okay.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank you, Nick.
My
Yes.
pleasure. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you next time, all right?
Thank you.
Mhm.